Good morning, everyone. Frank Halvorson here for TSPN's Our Sports Show. You know, we're here. We were here last Wednesday. We're here again today. We've got a lot of things to talk about this morning. First of all, we got to start with the Fall Classic, the World Series. When I was here last week, I predicted a giant victory, and I had given you a statistic that said 15 of the last 17 teams that had won Game 1 had gone on to win. Well, what a series it's been. Now, if you look at this, I don't think there were too many people at the beginning of the year that went to the sports book and said, I'll bet that the Kansas City Royals and the San Francisco Giants are going to be in the World Series. But here we are after 162 games. These two teams, I believe, had identical records in the regular seasons. Maybe there was one game difference. They both had to go into a wild card. One or done situation, they both win. They went into a divisional championship series, they both win. They go in to the American League and the National League Championship Series, they both win, and here they are sitting at Game 7. Now, talking of statistics, we said that 15 of the last 17 that won Game 1 have won the World Series. Yeah, that changes a little bit when it goes to Game 6 and 7. Right now, the Giants are the decided underdog. If you look at history, the last 9 times that a team has gone home behind 3-2, won Game 6, they've won Game 7. So it should be a great game tonight. I think Kansas City is probably a small favorite. One of the things that's interesting is who's going to be on the mound for the San Francisco Giants tonight, and that's Tim Hudson. Tim Hudson, after 16 years in the majors, he has more wins than any other active pitcher in baseball. For the first time, gets to pitch in a World Series, and he's going to be going in Game 7. The most important start of his career, 39 years old, which makes him the oldest pitcher to start a World Series, against Guthrie, who's no kid either. He's 35. It ought to be a fantastic game. Who's going to catch the ball? They got Bumgarner to come out of the bullpen. Should be fantastic. Game 7 tonight. All right, enough of the World Series. Let's get back to the Mother Lode League. Well, last week, for the first time this year, I missed on a couple games. I'd called them all the way through so far. I hadn't missed one, but I missed 2 last week. I didn't miss the Sonora game as they continued to dominate. They took on the undefeated Amador Buffaloes, and Amador went to Sonora and found out what Sonora was all about in a 54-0 shellacking. And Sonora, as we talked about, they're just better than everybody else in the Mother Lode League this year. Now, I've got to credit a little bit of that to Mr. Pete Sacco, who was the head of the Sac Joaquin section, who was a good friend of one of the administrators over to Sonora. One of his last things before he retired was took Sonora out of the Valley Oak League, which they couldn't compete in, put them in the Mother Lode League. And not only did they do that, but then they made a very friendly schedule and give them the bye before the playoffs. So they're almost done with league tonight, a matter of fact, and then they have a bye next week, and they'll be ready to go into the playoffs. Argonaut. There's a game I missed on. They came up with the biggest offensive performance that they've had all year long, scoring 4 offensive touchdowns. Chad Floyd, the quarterback for Argonaut, completes 2 touchdown passes to C.J. Wynn. Wynn continued to use his height against the much smaller corners of the Linden Lions, and they came out big with a 31-point performance. Jared Kopic had 2 touchdowns, also an interception. And Joey Crazy Leg Geedy, are you kidding me? 98-yard kickoff return. Great game for Argonaut, first league win. That takes them into the big game tonight. Now, you know, this big game, this has been going on for 91 years. This goes back to 1923. Now, it's been 91 years. That doesn't mean the game's been played 91 times. It's actually been played 97 times because they played twice in 1923 and in 1924. And as you can imagine, transportation was probably a little difficult back in the 20s, so you played who was close to you. So they played twice in those 2 years. There was another year they played 3 times, and then one other time they played twice. But this year's big game should be a little more exciting now that Argonaut's found a little offense. I still expect Amador to win this game, and it's going to come down, just like we talked about at the beginning of the year, the last league game between Calaveras and Amador, to see who's going to finish second in the Mother Lode League. So, the big game. Last year, Amador won. Amador won after getting beat 10 times in a row. And if you remember that game, it was a pretty exciting game. The score was 8-7. There was a high snap over the punter's head for Argonaut, went out of the end zone for a safety. At that point, it was 7-6. The safety made it 8-7, and that's how it finished. So Amador broke that 10-year streak that Argonaut had, and before that, you know, Amador had a 5-year streak. So this game's gone back and forth over the years, all the way back to the 20s, and I expect it to be a good game on Friday night. Now remember, we're going to do the JV game as well as the varsity game, so we will be recording both games for that. Make sure you check those out because it ought to be good. Rivalry week, you never know. You got to play the games. I expect if Amador can play a clean game, that they should come away with a victory. They're at home. They're excited about getting back to the playoffs this year for the second year in a row, and I think that's probably going to happen. But we'll see. Crazier things have happened in this game. You know, for Argonaut, they're going to have to contain Grunwald. Grunwald's been really successful with that fake going around the corner, and he's been successful throwing the ball to Eric Williams. So I think that, you know, all in all, the team that plays clean, no turnovers, you got to win the turnover battle because turnovers will kill you. That team's going to win, and I expect Amador to come out victorious in this. Calaveras, they play Linden this week, and Sonora gets Bret Hart. Somerville is on a bye. So things are wrapping up. We got this week and then next week, and that'll be the end of the league. Then we'll go into the playoffs and see how things shake out. We don't know. The qualifier for league, you need to have 2 league victories, and you need to have at least 5 wins. So somebody's going to qualify second there, either Amador or Calaveras. It looks like that would be my prediction right now to see who goes in the playoffs. That would be the second year in a row for Amador and Coach Billy Baker. I was over at Amador yesterday and was talking to a couple of the players as well as Coach Baker, and they're really excited about this game, and I'm sure Coach Landrigan and the Mustangs are also excited about this game. It's a friendly rivalry. Let's everybody remember that. Root for your team, have a good time, but at the end of the day, you know, they're all friends. They shake hands and we go on our way and wish each other luck. So let's remember to not do anything crazy out there. No, defacing property at either of the schools. So I ask all the parents and all the students out there, use your head, have fun, celebrate in a correct manner, and let's see how it turns out on Friday night. Don't forget, we're doing both games. The JV game starts at 5:30. The varsity game starts at 7:30, and we'll let you know when those are going to be aired. Probably the varsity game first, probably the JV game may not be aired until after the playoff game. Remember, Frank H. at TSPNTV.com. Send me an email, send me a question. I want to talk to you. I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think. Do you like the show? Do you not like the show? Do you have any questions, something you want to know? Let me know. Ask me some questions. We're about done here for today's show. I think we're going to be back one more time this year, maybe to wrap up the league, maybe to highlight the playoffs a little bit. But other than that, we're getting close to the end and close to my end of this show for this year. I appreciate you watching, and hopefully we'll see you one more time. All right. Goodbye, everybody.